cumulatively year on year, they sort of mirror, and what I'm not sure, I mean, I maybe could go and look at the paper records in Herefordshire or microfiche or whatever and see if that mirrors the earlier data. So that sort of volume there. What else have I got? This I haven't double checked all this, but this is sort of an indication of that's the different colours of the different types of units.
Yes.
The size of the blob is the number of sheds in each location, and you see the change. This is 2000, and then this is 2017.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. Yes, and far and away the majority are broiler, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, which are the bigger problem, really. I mean, the egg ones are also problematic, but they don't sort of clean out so often, or sort of those sort of issues, which are when you get the big problems.
And they come in, and the eggs maybe come in at one at a time. So you see there are more, but they're not showing up particularly because they're just one unit at a time.
Actually, there are more on the more recent one, aren't they? Yes.
And I believe they're taking off. The speed of growth is probably bigger with the eggs at the moment, and certainly in Powys.
Right. Yes, well that's also
that's Shropshire.
Very exercise special.
For Shropshire. This is the figure you referred to, I think. This is Compassion in Wild Farming data from last year, which was in the Guardian and various other papers. That's Herefordshire on the left. This is broilers, so it's not eggs.
Yes.
Herefordshire, Shropshire.
Good Lord.
And then there's a lot of counties that come over here with absolutely zero.
Virtually none. God, we're way ahead. Well, Hereford and Shropshire are way ahead, aren't they?
So that, in a sense, it was helpful for me because it gave me my rationale for focusing on those two counties. But it does rather bring it home. And then one final one I might show you here. I had a look at the Hereford Times coverage.
Right.
And this is the number of articles and the number of letters each year that mention anything to do with poultry, chicken or broilers. And some of them are actually nothing to do with poultry units. They might be somebody winning an award or...
Cargill seem to get themselves in the papers a lot.
I haven't included
activity. You haven't.
I think I may. I've got it on my maybe need to do list. Is looking at the Cargill's references, but this is largely about the arguments over.
I think most of the information on may not be relevant to what you're doing, but to the jobs they create, because that's always one of the ones that sort of persuades people. Not just the jobs with each unit, because obviously that's not many jobs, but the jobs through the whole industry, Cargill's.
Only very roughly.
Processing
I have
and all that
spoken
stuff.
to Cargill's, and I asked, it sounds as if it's fairly static over recent years. So,
because that's certainly at planning, if anyone wants to sort of support them, and actually nobody's terribly keen, to be honest. I wouldn't say there was anyone who was a great enthusiast for them, but that's always been the argument over the years. It's they are one of our biggest employers, and
it's about 2000-ish. And it has been that, and it was that before the expansion.
Yeah.
And it still is that, so I don't think the expansion...
No. Well, presumably, like everything else, they increasingly recognise.
I think so. Yeah. I've heard someone mention a figure from many years before, which was higher, but I have no sort of evidence. That there are the occasional reference, but it's very general figures.
Oh, the other side of it that I probably mentioned before I forget, although it may come out when you're asking questions, is the whole business of water quality, and that, of course, has been one of the focuses for CPRE. But it is. I mean, we have serious water issues. Okay, sounds good.
Yes, please, but black, please.
Black tea, no.
Or there's herb tea if you prefer. There's lemon and ginger, or
that'd be nice.
Yes,
lemon
nice.
I'll
could
try
be a
that.
rose hip or something like that.
Chris is picking me up tonight.
Oh, brilliant!
At 7, yeah.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, well, that'll make life a bit easier.
So I don't, because I'm hobbling around with his knee. He's going to dump me as near to the coffee pot as possible, then go and find somewhere to park.
Oh, well done, Chris. That's great. Yeah, okay.
Right, tea kettle on.
Lovely, thanks. Yes, and I've spoken to several people from the Environment Agency, the Wildlife Trust.
Yeah,
I'm struggling to get the Wyonosk people. Said they would speak to me, and then Ben went quiet.
Yes, Simon Evans. They, they do some fantastic work, but they also, I think, like to sort of keep friends with farmers and work with farmers, and a lot of what they do needs them to be, cooperating with farmers. So that possibly is one of the reasons there.
I've spoken to Nick Reed, who obviously is involved in all those sort of farm Herefordshire and
he's
management
doing his best, really, although I think it's pretty feeble stuff, to be honest. I try to go along to some of the nutrient management plan meetings, and that appears to get the council off the hook in terms of responsibility for the water quality. If they have a plan in place, it sort of means they're doing what they can. But I'm not sure it's achieving a great deal, to be honest. The water, the levels of phosphates especially are seriously high. 7 times the legal limit last year. Average. It went up to 20 times at certain stages and all that. And at least some of that is, we know at least a half of it's farming, and some of it's got to be chicken houses and other intensive stuff.
And there's meant to be a dashboard coming soon, but to be honest, some of the minutes aren't up from months ago and things, so
really
I'm
hard to
a bit out of date with what's happening. But
Yeah.
I'll monitor that as things get published.
There is some good practice, and I mean, one person I would point to is somebody I'm very, very interested in and very impressed by, and that is Tony Norman at Pembridge. You know him at the Lean.
He spoke at that.
He did, absolutely. And I've always thought he was a terrific chap and does wonderful work. He was an organic farmer and managed his farm absolutely with a view to enhancing, habitat and biodiversity and so on and so on. He's retired. His 2 sons have taken over. They've got rid of the organic, and they have gone very intensive. So they've got chicken houses. They've got very large dairy setup. But having said that, with Tony's influence, they seem to be doing it as well as they possibly can in the circumstances. So the chicken house is absolute state of the art, still hideous, but the best you'll probably ever get. They've got an anaerobic digester which takes the waste. They sow maize and they interplant to reduce the runoff, etc. And their dairy setup is very well managed with concrete footpaths out to the fields to minimise puddling and waste getting into the soil and into the water and so on and so on. So they're doing lots and lots of super things, and I'd certainly point to them as best practice, if you like.
It's on my list of possible people to interview. I've spoken to a couple of farmers so far. If I speak to a couple more, then he'd be on that list.
He'd certainly be worth having a word with, I think. And as I say, I think where he's coming from informs what he's doing, and he's certainly one of the farmers I'm aware of who are passionately concerned to minimise, runoff and water pollution and every other sort of pollution.
So I ought to perhaps follow that up. Okay, I mean, maybe focusing in on the sort of planning policy framework. No, this is all good stuff. and it's all things that were on my list to touch on. But if I could focus in on, say, the policy framework, starting at the sort of national level, the national planning policy framework, where this whole concept of sustainable development is what is referenced regularly. And I just wondered how you felt sustainable development is interpreted with these sorts of applications.
Well, as with most applications, it's you can read it how you want to, really. That's the problem. And sustainable is supposed to mean, economic, social, environmental. And the environmental, I think, all too often misses out. I think sometimes the economic does too, in the sense that actually small businesses and tourism are a massive player in our local economy, and they get kind of ignored in favour of some of the much bigger stuff. It's much bigger. It's a much bigger income generator than farming even. Tourism. It is, and yet it isn't given, I think, enough, credit or standing when we're looking objectively at, all these factors.